Hey guys, how are you doing today? So you can kind of see that I'm in a different spot. If you've been following me on Twitter, you know that Aaron and I's water heater ruptured, kind of exploded, water all over carpet. It's a whole mess. So the bookshelf that's behind me that I normally film in is normally in sort of like a corner next to the Citadel and Gallifrey sort of
Good job, Lila.
Thanks for cough farting. Appreciate you.
Go farting.
Farting. Yeah. Well, right underneath that was our air conditioning sort of vent. And behind that was our water heater. And it kind of exploded on Friday. And so we had to move my bookshelf, and we actually moved it into the foyer. And then I decided, you know what? I just don't want to tempt fate and have some of my books get ruined with water. So Aaron helped me today sort of move all of my bookshelves around, and then I reorganized my bookshelves. And so it looks a little bit different. I've got, here's all of my cozy mysteries. Well, most of them are here. Others are over here. And so if you want an actual sort of like tour of what my bookshelves look like now in the living room, I can do that. But that's not what I'm here for today. That was a very long introduction. So I'm actually bringing you my October wrap up. And I read 5 books in October. 3 out of 5 of them were ebooks, and then the other 2 were actual physical books. So if you see me looking down and stuff, it's because I have my laptop on my lap and I'm looking at my Goodreads. So if you ever want to know what I rate a book, or maybe a more in-depth sort of review on the book, you can always go to my Goodreads. It's Courtagonist, just like all of my other social media. So without further ado, so the very first book that I read in October was Death on Tap by Ellie Alexander, which I actually talked about in my October Cozy Mystery releases. It is a first in her Sloan Krause mystery series, and Sloan is a brewer and a beer brewer, and she sort of walks in on her husband cheating on her with a barmaid, and she decides that she's done. She's not going to deal with this anymore, and she decides to go and work for a new microbrew company, and sort of like the, not the enemy brewing company, but sort of just like a starting up. So she starts working for Nitro, the microbrewery, and she actually stumbles upon a competitor of Micro found dead, and she is trying to sort of figure out and solve who did it, because at this point the cops think that it's her soon-to-be ex-husband. And it was a really, really good book. Of course, I love Ellie Alexander's books. Actually, I read another one of her books this month, and that was actually Caught Red-Handed. It's a Bakeshop mystery, and that follows Jules Capshaw, who lives in Ashland, Oregon, and she is a baker. She works in her family's bake shop. Without being too spoilery, Jules's ex-husband sort of makes an appearance, and there's also a new shop that is opened in the main sort of like strip of Ashland, and it's not following the Shakespearean code. The new owner doesn't seem to be that sympathetic to the aesthetics of what Ashland is trying to show. Well, what happens is the new owner of that business sort of has a accident, and Jules has sort of brought it upon herself that she's going to figure out what happened, because she's the one that stumbled upon the body within moments of her death. And you're sort of drawn into her life and the decisions that she needs to make, not only with trying to figure out the whodunit, but what she's going to do about her marriage, what she's going to do about the bake shop and her mother. And it's a really, really good series. I suggest that you look up the Bakeshop mystery series. The third book that I read this month was Murder by the Slice. It's a Sky High Pies cozy mystery. It's the first one in the series. It's by Mary Maxwell, and it follows Kate Reed. She's moving back home from Chicago, where she was sort of a PI. She actually had her private investigator's license from her old job in Chicago, but a whole bunch of things changed. She got out of a really bad relationship, and also her boss was killed. Of course, the police think that it's an accident, but she believes that it can't be an accident. Someone killed her boss. And she actually goes back home to Colorado because her parents are wanting to retire from Sky High Pies, a restaurant that has been passed down since her grandmother, and it's always been in the family. She has two other siblings, but both of them, they have their own lives, they have what they're doing, and she's the one that sort of has the baking gene in her family. Well, her past sort of comes back to her in Colorado, and she starts getting threats about a piece of sort of evidence that they think that she has, but she has no idea what they're talking about. And people just start showing up dead. It was actually a pretty good little cozy mystery. I actually got it for free on the Kindle Unlimited app, which is $9.99 a month, but you get like hundreds of thousands of books for free download on your Kindle. You could, I think, upload up to 8 or 9 books. And so this wasn't too bad. I rated it a 3 out of 5. The other one that I read was Birthday Cake and Bodies by Agatha Frost. It's a Peridale Cafe mystery. It's the 9th one in the series. And if you remember, I had talked about the one that was previous. And I was talking about how I didn't like how Barker was acting. Well, he sort of comes out of his melodrama in this book. And this book is all about Julia planning a surprise birthday for Barker. She goes and she invites all of Barker's brothers and his nieces and things and his nephews, and is trying to throw him a surprise birthday. Well, one of his nephews is killed in the house, and they have to lock down the house and try and figure out who did it, because it had to have been someone in the family, in the house. And so Jules and Barker are trying to figure out the whodunit. And of course, Barker is kind of freaking out because it's someone in his family. Someone in his family did this. And it redeemed itself from book number 8. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, but it was a lot better than number 8. And the last book that I read in the month of October was Talking as Fast as I Can, From Gilmore Girls to Gilmore Girls and Everything in Between by Lauren Graham. And this was a autobiography by Lauren Graham, the girl who plays Lorelai Gilmore in the Gilmore Girls. And it sort of starts out from the beginning of her life, where it started, all the way from when her parents divorced through her going into acting in high school and trying to figure out what she was as an actor, how she was going to portray herself to the public, even all the way up to how she decided to write her very first novel, including her autobiography, and then goes all the way to the new series that came out on Gilmore Girls, and with the 4 different seasons. And it was a really, really good read. I loved that I got to know Lauren Graham a little bit more, and that she is almost just as quirky and talks as fast as Lorelai. I loved that I could get to know her a little bit more and her humor. And I don't have it right now because I let my friend Nat borrow it, because she loves Gilmore Girls just as much as I do. So I don't have it, but it was fantastic. I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars. So those are the 5 books that I was able to read in the month of October. Let me know what you read in the month of October. Have you read any of these books that I read this month? And if you have, let me know what you thought about them down below. All right, guys, so that is the end of this chapter of Courtagonist. Remember to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. You can always go and follow me on all of my other bookish social medias like Twitter and Instagram. Everything's always under Courtagonist. And until next time, guys, happy reading. Bye!